A Tale of Heroism, the Galactic Scourge. As the United Galactic of Planets fleet emerges from warp, it approaches the Vortarians' home world, an alien race that all attempts of communication from the UGP had been greeted with firepower, a warlike alien species, the ships, a majestic array of the United Galactic of Planets' finest, a line in formation, bristling with the weaponry of war. Crews aboard each vessel prepare for battle, hearts pounding, hoping this will be the strike to end centuries of conflict. Commander Johnson orders the fleet into orbit of Vortaria. Start bombardment. Sir, I have contact, putting it up on display. A helmsman shouted, "It's the enemy fleet. Hold positions, continue bombardment. We outnumber them 3-1. We will let them make the first move," Captain commands. Anticipation turns to alarm when the Vortarian fleet, instead of forming battle lines, initiates a perilous maneuver. In a stunning display of desperate aggression, they accelerate towards the Allied ships at suicidal speeds. This kamikaze-style attack is catastrophic, with Vortarian ships igniting their own reactors to become live bombs. Commanders aboard the Allied fleet scramble to respond. As the Vortarian ships collide with their targets, explosions ripple across space, the blasts devastating and spectacular. The Allied fleet, caught off guard, suffers severe losses. Ships are either obliterated on impact or severely crippled by the shock waves and ensuing debris. The void of space is lit by a cataclysmic ballet of destruction. The once orderly formations of the Allied fleet dissolve into a maelstrom of fire and metal. Each Vortarian ship, driven by the final commands of its doomed crew, targets the heart of the largest Allied vessels. The collisions are not mere impacts, but massive detonations, each one a miniature sun, birthing and dying in moments, engulfing everything in its proximity. The destruction is methodical and overwhelming. Major carriers and battleships, the backbone of the fleet, are the primary targets. Their defensive systems, designed for a battle of attrition and exchange of firepower, are ill-equipped to handle such close range, suicidal onslaughts. As the hulls of these titans buckle and rupture under the assaults, the smaller support ships scramble to evade the chaos, only to find themselves caught in the shock waves. Debris fields expand rapidly, turning space into a deadly minefield. Amidst this devastation, the human toll is immense. Thousands of soldiers stationed aboard these behemoths of war find themselves in a battle for sheer survival. Escape pods eject into the cold space, some successfully navigating away from the havoc, while others are caught in subsequent explosions or disabled by the pervasive debris. The fleet commander realizes their battle plans must adapt drastically, pivoting from a full-scale orbital assault to an urgent, harrowing drop to the planet's surface, where the true fight for survival and vengeance will unfold. Amidst the chaos, with the fleet disintegrating under the Vortarians' ruthless assault, the Allied commander makes a critical decision. Recognizing the futility of salvaging the space engagement, he orders a full-scale drop to the planet's surface. On board one of the dropships, Sergeant Ashley Rocker witnesses the apocalyptic scene unfold through the rear viewport, the once formidable first wave of the Allied fleet succumbing to mutual destruction. Their remnants a haunting spectacle of twisted metal and scattered life pods. Ashley's gaze fixes on the last moments of these ships with horror as she watches the Allies and enemy ships, in their entirety, consumed in a fiery end. The commander's voice crackles over the comms, instructing all dropships to proceed to the surface before they, too, are caught in the deadly debris wave. As they begin their descent towards the planet's surface, from her vantage point at the port window, Ashley Rocker witnesses the ground-based lasers light up the sky, each beam precise and devastating. One by one, the drop pods, filled with troops in hopes of securing a foothold, are targeted and obliterated. The spectacle is horrific. Ships vaporized before they can even deploy their payloads, their existence snuffed out in blinding flashes of light. Ashley watches, her face pressed against the cold glass. She can barely hear the commander's orders crackling through the comm system, his voice urgent with commands to secure a bridgehead. but his directives are abruptly cut off, the communication line severed as his drop pod is vaporized. With the situation dire, Ashley and her squad make a perilous landing amid the chaos. The dropship shudders violently as it maneuvers through the gauntlet of enemy fire, barely managing to touch down in a zone littered with debris and craters. Immediately, Ashley and the surviving 200 men are thrust into a fight for survival. They scramble to a nearby blown-out building, the remnants of what was once a ground-based laser system, taken out by the opening volley of the fleet. Inside the shattered confines of the building, the reality of their situation sets in. Ammunition is critically low, supplies are non-existent, and every decision carries the weight of survival. Ashley quickly organizes her men, instituting strict rationing of ammunition and employing guerrilla tactics to fend off the probing attacks of the Vortarians. In this desperate setting, Ashley's leadership shines. She crafts a plan that utilizes every available resource, turning their precarious position into a defensible stronghold. Through her strategic planning and the sheer will of her squad, they manage to hold their ground, securing their position. The plan begins with a high-stakes maneuver designed to shift the balance of power. Ashley prepares her team for a crucial operation. They target a patrolling enemy mech, a small but formidable piece of Vortarian technology. Ashley's role is pivotal. She must distract the mech to give her team an opening. Ashley dashes across the battlefield, drawing the attention of the mech. Its sensors lock onto her movement as she skillfully dodges incoming fire. Her team launch a coordinated assault, deploying a series of cables to trip the mech. As it stumbles and falls, Ashley makes her move, climbing onto the mech. She forces open the rear hatch and confronts the pilot inside. With a hard right hook, she neutralizes the pilot, taking control of the mech. Her heart races as she seals the hatch, now inside the enemy machinery, ready to initiate the next phase of her daring plan. With the mech under her control, Ashley uses it to infiltrate the enemy lines. She merges seamlessly into a column of mechs returning from patrol, her stolen unit blending perfectly among the Vortarian forces. The column leads her directly to their main base, a sprawling complex. Ashley's squad remains hidden in their secured position, waiting anxiously for her return. Inside the base, Ashley maneuvers the mech through the heavily guarded gates, her every move critical as she navigates through the heart of enemy territory. She parks the mech in the designated area and waits. Next, Ashley undertakes a more dangerous part of her mission. She accesses her pack, where she retrieves a tridimensional vortex device. This device, capable of causing a small tear in the dimensional fabric of space, represents a terrifying form of warfare. Its activation would result in a localized dimensional rift between three realms of reality, destroying all living cells within a 1-mile radius while leaving inanimate objects intact. Ashley, with war pushing her to the brink, in a moment of resolve, she prepares the device, setting it on a delayed timer to allow her escape. Ashley exits the base with the mech as if going on a routine patrol. She drives the mech back to the rendezvous point where her anxious team awaits. Upon her arrival, she explains the situation. Hearing about the success of her covert operation raises the spirits of the men. It was at that moment the DRD activated. The resulting tear is catastrophic. In the aftermath of activating the tridimensional vortex device, a devastating and almost surreal scene unfolds within the blast radius. As the device triggers, it creates a violent rupture in the dimensional fabric of space, instantly unleashing an invisible but lethal force. This force, unfathomable and absolute, eradicates all biological material within its reach. The zone of impact becomes a silent testament to the device's ruthless efficiency. Soldiers caught in the midst of routine activities fall lifeless to the ground in a blink. No marks of violence. Flora and fauna alike suffer the same fate. Trees stand intact, their leaves fluttering in the wind, devoid of any living cells, transforming them into ghostly silhouettes of their former forms. The landscape, though untouched in appearance with buildings, weapons, and vehicles remaining intact, becomes a grotesque still life photo. Everything is exactly in place as it was, yet utterly devoid of life. This zone, now a gallery of what was. After the devastating effects of the tridimensional vortex device, Ashley and her brigade approach the enemy compound. She leads them inside. They encounter no resistance. With a wave of Ashley's hand, her squad moves into action. Their cohesion shines through as they methodically clear the area, securing a perimeter around the central armory where the enemy's mechs are housed. Inside the armory, they discover a battalion of large Devastator mechs, towering machines designed for maximum destruction, the dreadnought of the enemy ground forces, towering monsters compared to the smaller, more agile mech that Ashley had commandeered. "I prefer this small mech. It's fast. I'll keep it," stated Ashley. Its speed and maneuverability suit her style of leadership, direct and dynamic. She then turns to her squad. "You boys take the Devastators, mount up, and move out. I saw the palace as we dropped in. It lies just over that mountain range to the west." Her team springs into action, each member boarding one of the massive Devastator mechs. The cockpits close with heavy metallic thuds, and soon the engines roar to life, filling the air with the sound of impending retaliation. As the mechs begin to mobilize, the ground trembles under their weight. Ashley leads the procession, her smaller mech darting ahead as a scout. With the Devastator mechs at their disposal, they possess the firepower necessary to breach the palace defenses and strike a decisive blow against the enemy leadership. As they move out, the landscape changes from the barren, lifeless zone around the compound to more populated areas. Here, the signs of the war are evident. Buildings bear the scars of battle, and destroyed dropships dot the landscape. Yet, the presence of the Devastator mechs inspires a sense of invincibility among the troops. The ground trembles under the heavy footsteps of the Devastator mechs led by Ashley. The squadron approaches the heavily fortified palace, a stronghold at the heart of Vortarian command and power. The palace, with its imposing structures and formidable ground defenses, loom before them. The Devastator mechs engage the palace defenses head-on. Their heavy cannons roar to life, sending a barrage of explosive shells towards the ground-based heavy lasers that guard the entrance. The defensive structures, robust against small arms and light artillery, crumble under the relentless onslaught of the Devastator's superior firepower. Explosions light up the morning sky, casting shadows over the once impregnable fortress. With the external defenses disabled, Ashley signals her team to press forward. They maneuver through the rubble, approaching the main gates of the palace. With the gates destroyed, Ashley's smaller mech darts through the openings, followed by the thunderous parade of Devastators. Inside the palace grounds, chaos reigns. The Vortarian soldiers, disorganized by the sudden attack, offer little resistance. Many drop their weapons, realizing the futility of their position. Ashley, from her cockpit, observes the unfolding surrender, a grin playing on the edge of her lips. As the dust settles and the echoes of battle fade, a figure emerges from the palace, a tall, imposing Vortarian in ceremonial armor. It is the enemy leader, a seasoned warrior whose reputation across the galaxy for his ruthless nature is well known. His expression, under the ornate helmet, is unreadable as he approaches. With a solemn gesture, the Vortarian leader signals for a ceasefire from his troops, then makes his way towards Ashley, his steps pounding against the stone pavement. Ashley exits her mech, standing firmly as the leader stops before her. The air is dense, filled with the weight of the blood of millions. The leader speaks, his voice carrying respect. He acknowledges Ashley's strategic brilliance, her ruthlessness, and her tactical expertise that have decimated his forces. He admits that in all his years he has never encountered a warrior who embodies the very essence of what it means to be Vortarian outside his species. In a surprising move, dictated by Vortarian custom and laws, the leader offers a symbolic gesture, his surrender and the throne seat to Ashley. It's the way of their culture. It signifies not just a military defeat, but an acceptance of the new leadership and their valor. She accepts the crown and raises it high above her head and turns to her troops, shouting out, "Join me in the throne room." In the grand throne room of the Valterian palace, a profound silence settles as Ashley Rocker takes her seat upon the throne. The room, a witness to centuries of Valterian rulership, now hosts a foreign leader, an unprecedented guardian chosen through the crucible of war. The assembled Valterian dignitaries and military officers watch as Ashley assumes the mantle of leadership. As the ceremony concludes, Ashley adapts to her role as the leader of Valteria. The galaxy watches. News of her ascension spreads, stirring different factions within the United Galactic Planets. Some view her new position as a beacon of change and hope, others as a potential threat to the balance of power. Among these observers are those who plot in the shadows, seeing a new opportunity for their own gains. In the closing moments of the story, Ashley gazes out from the palace balcony at the starlit sky, contemplating the vastness of space and the challenges ahead. Her thoughts are interrupted by a senior advisor who presents her with intelligence reports of mysterious movements along the outer rim of Valterian space, movements that suggest not all threats have been quelled. This is not goodbye, nor the end. Until the story continues, my friends, be and Rocker.